Don't ask me what I'm doing here because I don't know. One day, I woke up in the middle of a forest, covered in snow, devoid of all memory and sense of identity. Why? I have no clue. It almost doesn't matter. I spent the first couple of hours calling for help, wandering around, hoping I'd find someone nearby. And after a while, I came to the reluctant conclusion that I was well and truly isolated. No sound of human voices, no hum of tires on the distant roadways, nothing but the trill of far-off birds and rustling branches in the wind. There might have been a cow nearby from all the mooing, but I couldn't find it. I might not have known who I am or why I woke up in the snowy forest, but that didn't mean that I was going to sit down and let depression take me along with the wolves. I needed a plan of action, needed to find a way to survive. But first, a man must know himself before he can trust himself. And because my old name was lost to my departed memory, I have decided to call myself Steve. It's a good name. I spent some time searching the area, looking for anything that might be useful to me. Tools and weapons would be my first priority. Don't ask me how I knew, but I could tell the forest would be dangerous at night. Something in my blood, maybe. There wasn't much, not even a single fallen branch on the ground, just smooth snow and straight pine trees. I tried to grab hold of a few rocks peeking up from the soil, but they were firmly stuck. I'd need something to pry them free, or maybe break them away. I spotted a tree nearby and went to it, running my hands over the dark brown bark. It was a good tree, strong and healthy, so I punched it. Pulp and bark flew as my hard fist broke, chunk after chunk away from the tree. I gritted my teeth against the jarring in my arms and kept going until the whole thing broke through and crashed to the ground. My chest heaving from the exertion, I gathered the wood and sat down, examining the pieces. I broke some of the longer chunks into thick sticks. I stabbed one of them into a flat piece of wood shaped like a blade. I grinned as I hefted the wooden axe I'd made and swung it around. It felt good. I used the axe to fell several more trees until I had enough wood to make all the tools I needed: a shovel, a sword, a pickaxe, a ladder of which I used to break those stubborn stones from the ground. I stowed the rocks away for later use and strapped the tools to my back. And I kept the sword out, though, feeling a danger in the woods tickling the back of my mind. Thus armed, I set off in search of food and shelter. I won't bore you with the details of my struggle against starvation and wolves. Suffice it to say, it was a struggle. I fought, bled, conquered. I stumbled over the hills and down into the water-filled valleys, climbing trees to see the path ahead. I slew the cows and ate their flesh to stay alive, and I fell off the cliffs. I broke bones. I spent days waiting for them to heal, but I briefly marveled how quickly the wounds mended, and wasted no time in pressing on once they did. At nighttime, I was attacked by the monsters, proving that my intuition about the forest was correct. There were green, small creatures running around, throwing their spikes everywhere. Every once in a while, when I started thinking that I would have them be defeated, they would poop out some type of strange fertilizer, and they would be well again. I didn't know what to do. These little green cactuses were almost undefeatable. I hid from the darkness. I lit the small mud huts that I'd built along the way with torches until the sun rose once again. I heard the sound of a guitar in the distance, and I looked over. I thought that I would be welcomed with a vision of something pleasant. A bard, maybe. But no. It was a strange creature with the mariachi band hat and the face of a skeleton, almost like the little boy Coco in the movie Coco. But I was uncertain if in this world there were Coco's movies. I never knew why this world that I'd woken up was filled with cactuses, skeletons, zombies, and strange skeleton balladeers. It didn't really matter. I bashed their heads in with stone swords nonetheless. Every once in a while, the solo performance by the bard started to screech, and it hurt. I didn't like this place. I had to survive. Weeks later, exhausted, clothes ripped and torn, blood from my numerous cuts on my legs trailing into my socks, I found myself wishing that I had a fertilizer or a soothing melody to heal me, but instead I finally found the mountains, and they were majestic. I climbed them each, and I found a huge mansion, and in this mansion emerged a strange being. He had bolts in his face, and he had a large bone that he was carrying on his back. He almost looked like a caveman, and an amalgamation of something that came from a classic that I read in 9th grade. I avoided the caves and I avoided the mansion. I knew that the creatures within them were too scary. I had to venture inside them eventually, but not now. I wasn't ready. I finally found a flat-top peak that overlooked the forest to the east and the oceans to the west. And from its heights, I would be able to see the whole land and defend my homestead from the intruders. This was good. I finally had some hope. And that was a few months ago. I've since become used to this way of life in this strange land, and the name of Steve, it fits me kind of like a glove. And I'm the master of my modest stone home, but I kind of got lonely. I needed a girlfriend, and I looked around, and I couldn't find one. I raised cattle, I planted wheat, and I baked bread. I tried all kinds of ways to maybe attract some of the beautiful women in the village, and when I finally did find a villager to talk to, she didn't say much except for some strange words like, I finally met a girl one day. She was wearing a yellow hat, and I thought, oh, she's not making that strange sound. She actually said words, but I wasn't sure I liked her. Her language was a little, get the and she had a big drill. I didn't want her drilling into me. You see, I'm the king of all this land, and I can't have her drilling me. Not today. And then yesterday, my house blew up. Not all of it, but a good chunk. There's this old man that emerged from the mine that I was working in. And it's a strange man just hopping around everywhere. You wouldn't imagine it from just looking at him. He looked almost senile. And he would just toss this dynamite into my house and blow it up. This was not good. He would shriek these weird sounds like, "I want some TNT!" And I was just upset. I didn't like his voice either. What is with the voices of the people in this world? I placed some wooden shingles that had blown loose in the blow, and the creeper appeared out of nowhere. I tried to pull back out of sight, but he spotted me and he exploded into a fit of suicidal rage. Now, I might not have mentioned creepers to you before, but not because they don't bear describing. You see, I call them creepers because that's what they do. They creep. I first discovered them while exploring my first cave, and let me tell you, damn, those things are scary as hell. On that first instance, I'd run out of torches and I was blindly trying to feel my way forward. My stone sword was at the ready and I was ready to swing it. I knew I could do it, and then a movement caught my eye. I looked left, I looked right, and all of a sudden it disappeared. It vanished. It looked like it emerged from the left side, suddenly. And there it was, wearing a strange yellow hooded sweatshirt, sucking on a lollipop. He kept on moving left and moving right and trying to get close to me for some reason. And he kept on throwing these objects at me, and it hurt, but it wasn't that much pain. I felt like I could take it. And then suddenly, he appeared behind me, and it hurt. He just kept on throwing these things into my body, and its face staring at me with a strange sadness. The mouth gaped in a profound grimace. And he looked at me, and he spoke. And when he spoke, it just ruined everything. He said something like, I'm gonna get Nita? What the? What? I stared, horrified by this hideous beast. I was lulled into apathy with misplaced pity. And then that's when the big green monster arrived. A creeper neared. A whiff of gunpowder, and a cave filled with an ominous hissing. I came to my senses, and I tried to flee as the hissing reached a crescendo. The creeper writhed and pulsed, its mouth opening in an agony, only a split second before it exploded in a roar of fire and flying rock. I threw myself down. I covered my head. The flames billowed over me. I almost died that day, and I learned to fear the creeper above all others. And so my house in smoking splinters after the latest creeper attack. I knew I had to repair it quickly. I didn't need another old man throwing dynamite at it. I would become easy meat for the monsters. You see, I needed my walls. I stowed all my valuables in a chest and I armed myself with 7 stone axes. I even created some iron armor that I forged, and I prepared to gather as much wood as possible before nightfall. I headed down to the edges of the forest and I spent all day felling trees. I broke their wood into rough chunks that I can carry back. I was panicked. And I reduced my panic by box breathing, something that this streamer in my other life taught me how to do. My heart rate was lower, and I felt like I could take on the world, and I emerged to get a little bit more wood. Then all of a sudden, this strange purple hand appeared out of nowhere. It was the biggest hand I've ever seen, and it just grabbed me, and it started yanking me across the forest. I cut through bushes, I cut through the stone walls, and staring in front of me was a pink genie with the scariest eyes that you would ever imagine. Ever. He just looked at me, and he made the strangest noises. I did not understand a single thing he said, but let me tell you, this was the freakiest moment ever. Those eyes, they would just stare at me. I thought I had seen the worst of it when all of a sudden behind me, a penguin-like creature threw a suitcase into my face. This was the worst world ever. Where the was I? As if it weren't enough, off in the distance, I saw this oversized, gigantic black bird looking at me with eyes, like murderous eyes. He just kept on looking at me. I didn't know what to do. He shot at me and I dodged it, and it was like, I always get my mark. And I was like, what? What do you mean you get your mark? I started running, and that's when the bird suddenly flew and landed on top of me. I died. I woke up again, and I don't know why I was still there. I thought I had died, but apparently I was left alive with just one piece of health. Next to me, I finally saw the love of my life. I thought it was a dream. I thought she was an angel. And she looked at me and she says, "Hi, I'm B." And I was like, "I thought I died." And she said, "No, I protected you with my honeycoat." And I was like, this is my savior. I wanted her so bad. I was in love. I said, "B, don't leave. My name is Steve. Don't. I'm Steve. I'm Steve. You are beautiful. I need you. I be needing you right now. B." But never did I see her again. Day after day, I would think about her. All I could think about was that amazing honeycoat. I just wanted to be in her honey again. That's all I wanted. But life returned back to normal, and I tried to retreat when I saw the other monsters, and I couldn't ever get back to the reality that I had known. This almost became my norm. Sometimes I would see spiders with their poison fangs, and one time I accidentally made the mistake and I tripped, and I retreated into the very hole that I had hidden in overnight. I landed heavily in the dirt. I gazed at the patch of sunlight above, and although I was in pain, for some reason I thought that B would come and save me. I knew that this was maybe too much to hope for. Somehow, for some reason, perhaps tonight was the night that I would die. So instead I thought about B. I thought about the cows in their pens, sheep grazing peacefully by the golden wheat ready to be harvested. I even thought about that first encounter with that strange green cactus. They would all wait forever for me to return. My house would remain on my mountaintop, an empty monument to Steve, the only human to ever walk this world other than me. Those angels. Was it all for nothing? I don't know, maybe. But I'd survived, if only for a while. I blinked and I brought myself back to the present, and I smiled grimly as the spiders tried to swarm into the small hole, but their disgusting bodies were too big. I hacked at them from below, killing several. Perhaps there was a chance. Maybe there was a chance. There was a chance. Suddenly, floating in front of me, I saw words that encouraged me to purchase some type of a star power that would allow me to resurrect. But they wanted 169 emeralds, and I did not have that. Who has 169 emeralds? What a ripoff. Oh, whoever made this world is just trying to take my money. Maybe there was a chance now. My hope was short-lived, and my stomach dropped as a creeper suddenly appeared, blindly following the spiders, hoping for an easy victim. How could my luck have been so horrible? Not only was I surrounded by spiders and creepers, but I was being hit by ads to buy star powers, or whatever they are. God, I knew what was going to happen next. You see, I'm not a pay to live. I'm a free to live. Adrenaline flashed through my veins, and I threw myself back. The creeper toppled into the hole, and it landed right next to me. I was trapped. Cold dirt and the unyielding stone pressed against my back as I turned away, squeezing my eyes shut. I knew the dreaded sound filled the small hole. One day, I woke up in the middle of a forest, covered in snow. The end. Good night for real. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Try to come up with some better stories next time. Next time, we learn about when he met Jesse and Penny. And we'll tell you about some nice 3v3s there. Good night.